हेलो वेलकम टू कैफे आईओ में आपका स्वागत है। तो आज के वीडियो में हम लोग बात करने वाले हैं जुपिटर के बारे में, जो कि एक आईडीई है। अगर आप डेटा साइंस में अपना करियर बनाना चाहते हैं या पाइथन प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज यूज़ करना चाहते हैं तो ये आईडीई प्रॉबेबली सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ है जो आपको सीखने की ज़रूरत है। एंड दिस इज़ प्रॉबेबली द मोस्ट कॉमन एंड पॉपुलर कंप्यूटिंग एनवायरनमेंट एज वेल इन द डेटा साइंस वर्ल्ड। So if you're not familiar with this, I'm going to do a super basic introduction into Jupyter, from installation to how does it work, how to get it up and running, how to use it, some commands and some extensions and stuff like that. I'll also talk about both the computing mode it comes in, classic as well as the lab. And then I'll also talk about how to use this in different IDEs like PyCharm and VS Code. So let's get started. So just checking the website, Jupyter is it's basically for interactive computing. Interactive computing implies you enter some command like 2 plus 2 and you'll get a result immediately. So it's very interactive computing. You type some input and you will get immediate feedback, right? So you can see how the website looks. So there's two flavors. One is Jupyter Lab, which is the newer notebook interface, and the other is the notebook interface, which is the classic notebook interface. And it supports a wide variety of languages. I think Python, R, Scala, Julia, and there's more programming languages that are covered that you can use, but predominantly I believe this is used by people in the data science ecosystem, and that's largely dominated by Python. So we'll talk about Python. Jupyter Hub is also something which I wanted to mention. It's more for enterprise, and it's a centralized hub which can enable different Jupyter environments across your company. So you have a centralized installation of Jupyter Hub, and then different instances of Jupyter can run, which are running in containers. You can have, your auth on top of that, and so on and so forth. And then you can, share your results and all of that. There's some plugins like Voila and all, which we'll talk about. It's being used, I think, everywhere. I think this just list is it's a very small list. So without waiting, let's get started. So we'll take a look at how to install it, and we'll not go into these installations. I'll just start by, so we will start conda create --name demo, and this will be a new environment which I'm creating from scratch. So this will use some version and tada. So conda activate demo, and now let's see if we have Jupyter. So the way to check simple is Jupyter. You can type notebook and it will give you an error because it doesn't have Jupyter. So we will just install it by saying conda install Jupyter, and if it doesn't find, we can, it did find it. So we'll just do y, and it will now install a lot of different libraries. Most common of them are Jedi, Jupyter Lab server. I think it installs certain matplotlib installations and some generic stuff. So the installation would complete, and then you would have a notebook environment ready. Now we'll first get into the classic mode. I'll show you some of my existing notebooks, and then we can hop on to the lab interface, and then we can go on from there. Done. So we have the Jupyter. So in order to get Jupyter up, right, you should type Jupyter space notebook. I repeat, Jupyter space notebook. This tells Jupyter server to run the notebook version of it and not the lab version. So it will just pop up quickly. Let's just check that out. Since this is the first time it's running in this installation, it might take few seconds to bring up the Jupyter server. Yep. And there you have it, right? This is your Jupyter environment. Let's go to some places where I have code. So I will go into documents, GitHub, and let's just say playground. There's a lot of notebooks here. You can create a new one using new, and it will create a new one, but I'll just use some existing ones. So for example, I'll run this technical indicators, and then we'll try and showcase how this works. So the way you can go about is, the interface works is, you select these cells. These are called cells. each of them, the numbered ones, they usually start from 1, but the number changes as you run them. So this is a cell. What I'll do is I'll create a new cell before this, and we'll create 3-4 cells. So this, I've selected this cell, and there's a couple of types of cell you can have. You can have a code, you can have a markdown, and in the case of markdown, you can write some markdowns like triple head and shift enter will run it, so you have a text. Then the next one, I'm gonna have heading, so it will automatically by define okay, there's a warning, Jupyter no longer uses special heading cells, so instead you can just use markdown and capture headings, which is what I was doing. So if you see, this is going to be a heading 2. So the way it works is it follows markdown structure, and that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna remove and make this testing out Jupyter environment and run it. Right, this is usually used for capturing some comments for your code, giving section breaks, giving a heading, so that the code is very much readable. And now this is what interactive means, right? If I just do 2 + 2 and put shift enter, it's gonna do 4. If I do a is equals to 5, it will create a variable called a, and then I can always do print a, and then it will give me 4. So this is how it works. You can obviously do multiple stuff inside it. Whatever you do inside it is within that single cell. So you can do print a comma b, it will print 4 and 5. You can do print a plus b, and it will give you 9. So this is basically a Python environment running in the background, and you have very interactive computing. Now I have some notebooks where I have plots and charts. I'll try to run them and show you some errors. So as you see, I get some errors called module not found Y finance. Now what I can do is I can go back here, and from terminal install, alternatively I can put exclamation, and basically this goes out and executes as a terminal command, pip install via Y finance and shift enter, and basically it will run. And now what's gonna happen is it's going to constantly keep giving me errors for different libraries, so I'm not going to try to show all of them, but the idea is pretty straightforward, right? I hope you were able to get the gist. You can use the environment, the IDE itself, to execute terminal commands, so that you don't have to come out of the interactive computing environment. Now again, it will give me error as TLib, and then it will give me error as SNS. I don't want to get into a debugging mode and shift track. So this is Jupyter Lab. A couple of important things to know. If you're stuck, you can always run, stop, restart and all that from here. If you do this, if you restart the kernel, all variables will be lost, meaning anything that you have done till that point, it's not going to be available in the result. It's basically going to remove everything from here, restart and clear output. Yeah, so everything has been removed. So this is basically what a restart does, and then you have some options like run all, etc., which will run everything from start to end. So this is a notebook environment. This is that's pretty much it to it. You can add as you like to code. I'm not going to get into how to code and all, but that's the Jupyter Notebook environment. You can leave this, and you can see here that it shows under running. So some notebooks are always running until you shut them down. And if you go to clusters, you don't have any cluster information here because it's provided by IPython parallel, which I don't have installed in my machine. But you can see cluster information there as you have. Now I'll just click shutdown, and it will show me no notebooks running. A good way is to always quit from here, because that stops the Jupyter server. And I will show, as I do that, you can probably see here quickly. Yeah, see, it took shutting down, right? So now if you see the server has stopped, and you can close this tab, right? Now again, what we want to do is I want to go to the second version of Jupyter, which is called Jupyter Lab. So instead of notebook, I don't want to do notebook this time. I want to do lab. And this is the interactive environment which I like much more than notebook, because this is more beautiful. It can support widgets and all that. So that's what I'll do. And it has a good and a better file menu. There's all the open tab tracker. You can have table of contents here, and table of contents are created basically as you write markdown in your code. It will capture markdown. For example, I'll do testing, I'll do testing 1. Okay, no, this was as code, sorry, my bad. Let's call this heading instead of testing. Heading 2, heading 3, heading 4. So you see on the left hand side, right, it's neatly giving your document the structure. You can do foldings and all that within your code, so it improves the readability of the code. So that's what it does. And then the code part is pretty much the same. You can do interactive computing like we did before. 2 plus 2 is equals to 6, 3 plus 10, 6. So you can do interactive computing as you want. Now what I like about the Jupyter Lab environment compared to Notebook is you have extensions, and you have tons of extensions. For example, this is an extension which is an extension to manage widgets for the Jupyter environment, which is enabled by default. And then you have tons of different extensions here, which is, for example, you want a Git extension, right? So you can check out the Git extension. It was updated yesterday. And this basically gives you another tab here on this side, and it will allow Git version control from the notebook itself, which is very, very useful. You can have something like a Google okay, this was archived, but you can still use it. Cloud storage for Jupyter Lab using Google Drive. So you can mount Google Drive as a mount point, and you can still do this in Google Colab, but probably not here. And then there's some nice ones like for example, I'll mention Dask Lab extension. So if you have Dask clusters running in your laptop, you get a very nice interactive visualization for all the cluster like this. So you can so what I've done is I've just opened an image. This is not a live preview, but as you run your code, right, you can see from dask.distributed import client, you have all the cluster related graphing options on the left hand side. You have cluster memory, progress, and the graph on the right hand side. You can see the task stream at the bottom. So this very quickly converts it from a static IDE to a full blown IDE, which can give you performance numbers as well. So I really like this when I used to work with Dask. You have Voila dashboards that if you want to publish your let's say notebook as an interactive chart or an interactive app, you can do that. And let's see what this is the one. I think, is there a demo around it? Let's see, probably this one. So it basically shows a dashboard, and it removes the code part, and it will show you all the graphs and charts, etc, etc. So it's a nice thing if you want to do visualization and stuff like that. If you want to show, yeah, you see this, it's basically gonna strip out the non-essential elements and just make it interactive like an app or something. So, and you can put your native charts, plots, etc, etc with Voila. So these are nice plugins to be familiar of. And as you venture deeper with the Jupyter conversation, you will learn a lot. There are some settings, like for example, you can change the themes to dark, to light. Obviously dark mode is preferred. I'm doing light mode for the video so that it's more readable. There is a lot more customizations you can do. For example, you can change the key bindings, you can change the terminal theme, and then one feature which I love is there's this simple that you do, and everything becomes more cleaner and somehow neater. I like this version better. Somehow it just removes all the hard parts and make it look very nice and minimalistic. I really like this interface. So that's Jupyter Lab environment. I'm gonna go and shut this down again so that we close it on the terminal. All right, next I'm gonna go to VS Code, and I'll showcase what plugin enables Jupyter environment. I think I've shown this when I was doing a video of Visual Studio Code, but nevertheless we will have again that conversation. So there's a plugin called Jupyter itself which enables this. Yeah, so it's called Jupyter. It's provided by Microsoft itself. Jupyter Notebook support for interactive programming. All you need to do is just install this. It installs few of more of its siblings, the key map, the renderers, the cell tags, and all of that, these four, and you have basically an installation of the Jupyter environment with you. So this basically is enabled globally. This is what you use to work with Jupyter, and basically once you have this, you get the same Jupyter environment like you would others. I kind of like this much better than running in the notebook versions because this is more IDE centric. I get access to terminal and other tools that I need to. So yeah, this works fine. It's pretty much the same interactive computing environment, but just you can get it in an IDE. Next up on my list is PyCharm. PyCharm Professional Edition by default supports Jupyter environment. I love this the most. The primary reason why I took and purchased this is because this is the cleanest of all interfaces. I think when you go to extensions, you see Jupyter installed probably here. No, I think it's enabled by default. So it's not really a plugin, it's more of a capability that they have baked in the browser in the IDE itself. So that's useful. That's just available within the premium version. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about on the Jupyter part. I'll go back and just for the sake of removing it, conda create, so I'll remove the demo environment, and that's it. So if you have liked my video, please subscribe to it, please share your love, please put in comments if you want a more deeper video, if you have a question about Jupyter, if you want more videos on IDE, keep them coming. Thank you, have a great day.